I base all my characters on hair. I think TV is much more the writer's medium and film is about the director and their vision and how you can collaborate with them and see that through to the end. They are so different. My wife and I try not to get into each other's work too much. I like physical comedy, and I like the old comedies. With bikes, it is absolutely the case that you'll get what you pay for. Invest in quality so it will endure wear and tear. And, sure, if you have a political point of view, you have every right to share it. But you have to be careful not to get too self-important. You have to find the balance between being entertaining and being preachy. In Los Angeles, as I gained and lost celebrity, then gained it again, I often found myself wondering why I, out of thousands like me, had become famous. Housekeeping is incredibly difficult with 3 kids. I'm trying to be more relaxed. You'll go insane if you try to have a picture book house. The hardest thing about having 3 kids is trying to find a balance, because there's always the odd man out, and you also need to make sure each child gets the attention he or she needs. I have a specialized racing bike, which is great because it has a solid build, is comfortable to ride, and is lightweight. I'm really happy to have a family and a life outside of the business. I love having a big family. I think it's easier, oddly, in some ways, having 3 children as opposed to 1. If I can sleep in until 9 a.m., wow, what a luxury. When I left Maine, I always wanted to be a working actor. I never cared too much about being the star. I just wanted to do the work and get on with it. I hate shaving. It's much easier to just do a little stubble, but my wife and daughter like it when I'm clean-shaven. If you see me with a clean face, then you know I'm in the kissing mode. You'll go insane if you try to have a picture book house. What you want in a romantic comedy is to have 2 people that you want to see together, and how do they overcome the obstacles that are in the way for that to happen. As obvious as it sounds, I strongly recommend shopping at a specialty bike store. They are the experts, and they will be able to help you decide which bike is best for you. I was 17 when I left the small Maine town where I'd grown up. I wanted to do something I thought was important with my life, so I headed to California and didn't look back. If biking is your passion, set aside time to enjoy a good ride. The worst part about being married is when you're not connecting. Your partner is going out the door when you're coming in, and you don't have a chance to debrief on the day. That's the worst. Didn't you take economics? You could have had me for $49.95. I look forward to a time when my career in a place where I can get out of Los Angeles and find a nice small town like I grew up in to raise my family. Sometimes in television, if there are storylines that are oft-told, people can be hypercritical of them. Drama is easier to do because you just have to have the emotion and not get caught acting, but comedy is much harder. When you discover first love as a teenager, your whole life revolves around it and you open yourself up to it. With competition there is always ego and hubris. Competition gets in the way of work. Fame is a delicate and dangerous creature. I saw people who didn't honor it, who refused to take responsibility for it, get destroyed by it. I also saw that stardom in and of itself was empty. I grew up in a house full of women. I have 2 older sisters and my mom who is a very strong woman. A wedding is like a funeral, but with musicians. One day my 3-year-old daughter said, "You're very handsome, Poppy." That was the best compliment ever. My big thing is to make sure the lipsticks taste good when you kiss. And, well, so far they taste pretty darn good. Eventually feels a lot different than actually. I think fame is one of those things where you have a window of opportunity and you have a certain amount of trust from the fans, and without that you don't have a career. Fame is fleeting. Sometimes people like you, sometimes they don't. Not all people are going to like you. People sometimes mistake being serious with being taken seriously. Now I'm just known as McDreamy. I've lost all identity as Patrick-Dempsey. I'm now McDreamy. I know it can be dangerous, but I love racing. I worry my wife, but she knows it's important to me. I think dreams can come true, but not necessarily like fairy tales. It's not always so perfect like that. The best part about being married is feeling centered. Nothing else matters so much as long as you can come home and be with your family. I did a play called On Golden Pond in a dinner theater in Maine and then went to New York for a talent competition, having put together a 3-man juggling routine and some one-liners, and I got myself an agent from that. I started off as a juggler. I used to do a half-hour show on the weekends to make money as a kid. Then I went to Cleveland, Ohio in 1983 to the International Jugglers Competition Junior Division and came second. So that was my first job, being a juggler. I don't necessarily want to direct because it's too much work and I don't have the attention span to stay with it that long. But I think getting everyone together on something that appeals to me and developing the material is something that I like to do. Kids take you outside your comfort level because you ask yourself, how do I answer that question for them? You think back to your childhood, and it's like, I don't want to give them that, I want to give them this. My life is my children.